My son said he wanted to move to a bigger house and was short of 400,000 yuan for the down payment, and his eyes were full of anticipation. Looking at him, I remembered all the hardships I had endured along the way, and nodded without hesitation. When I went to see the house that day, I was amazed by the spacious and bright new home. After the tour, I casually asked, "Which room should I stay in when I stay here for a few days?" As soon as I finished speaking, the atmosphere in the living room changed abruptly. My daughter-in-law's expression and the next words made me see everything clearly in an instant. It was a normal weekend and I was in the kitchen preparing lunch. The phone rang. It was my son Rowan calling. "Can Aurora and I come to your place for dinner tonight?" Hearing this, I felt delighted. My son and his family are busy on weekdays, so it is rare for them to come over for a meal. Of course. "What time will you come?" "I'll make a few more dishes." After hanging up the phone, I immediately put down the work in my hands, changed my clothes, and went to the nearby vegetable market. I carefully selected the spare ribs that my son likes, the shrimps that Aurora likes, and the fish that my grandson Xiaobao loves the most. I met my old neighbor Aunt Wang on the way, and she asked me why I bought so many vegetables. "My son and his family are coming to eat today, so buy some more good dishes," I replied with a smile. Aunt Wang said enviously, "Your son is so filial. He often comes back to see you." I nodded, but I knew in my heart that Rowan hadn't come to see me for 3 months. When I got home, I was busy washing and cutting vegetables. I was in a particularly good mood thinking about seeing Xiaobao. I cleaned the house and took out my treasured tea from the cupboard, ready to entertain them. Time passed by minute, and I kept looking at my watch, afraid that I would miss their arrival. At 6 o'clock in the evening, the doorbell finally rang. Rowan's family of 3 was standing at the door, and Xiaobao rushed over to me as soon as he saw me. "Grandmother." I picked up the 3-year-old boy and kissed his little face. "Do you miss Grandma?" I asked with a smile. "I do." Xiaobao nodded naively. Aurora politely called Mom and then sat on the sofa and played with her phone. I noticed that she didn't look at me, which made me feel a little uncomfortable. While eating, Rowan kept talking about how crowded the house they were living in was. "Mom, our apartment is really too small. It's only 70 square meters. Xiaobao doesn't even have his own room." I nodded to show my understanding. The house was bought for them by his father when he was still alive. That time, there were only 2 of them living in it. Now that they have Xiaobao, it does seem crowded. "All the other kids in kindergarten have their own rooms, but our little one doesn't," Rowan continued. Aurora put down her chopsticks and finally looked at me. "We have chosen a new house. The environment is very good, and there is a children's playground in the community," Rowan went on to say. "It's also close to Xiaobao's future school, and it's an area with good educational resources." I understood what they meant and asked with a smile, "Want to change houses?" Rowan nodded. "That house is 130 square meters, with 3 bedrooms and 2 living rooms, so the down payment is 1.8 million. I silently calculated in my mind that they could get about 1.4 million yuan by selling their current house. "What about the remaining 400,000? I asked bluntly. Rowan nodded sheepishly. "Yes, Mom. All the money we have is invested and we can't withdraw it in the short term." Aurora immediately added, "Mom, we will definitely pay you back when our investment pays off." Looking at their expectant eyes, my heart softened. I remembered my wife's last words before she died. "We only have this one son, so if you have money, help him more." "Mom, I have some savings here. Please help me if you can." Rowan and Aurora's faces immediately lit up with joy. "Mom, you're so nice. Let's take you to see the house this weekend," Rowan said excitedly. I agreed with a smile, but in my heart I was thinking that I had to go to the bank to confirm whether the deposit was sufficient. After dinner, Rowan helped me clean up the dishes, which hadn't happened in a long time. Aurora continued to sit on the sofa and play with her phone, occasionally looking up at the time. I knew she was anxious to go back, but I still let them sit for a while. When I saw them off, Xiaobao hugged my legs reluctantly. "Grandma, I want to live in your house." Aurora immediately took his hand and said, "Xiaobao, it's time to go home. You have to go to kindergarten tomorrow." Looking at their backs as they left, I felt a little sad. The next morning I went to the bank alone. There were not many people in the bank, so I took a number and waited for my name to be called. When my name was called, the young girl at the counter greeted me warmly. "Hello, Aunt Lee. What can I do for you?" "Check how much money is left in my account," I said. The girl skillfully operated the computer, checked my account, and told me, "Aunt Lee, there are 423,000 yuan in your account. This money is the lifelong hard work of my wife and I. My husband passed away due to illness 5 years ago, leaving me this money and a small house of 60 square meters for my retirement. This money is all in fixed deposits. If you want to withdraw it, you need to make an appointment in advance. The girl reminded me. I nodded. I know. I may need to withdraw a large amount in a few days. The girl asked with concern. Aunt Lee, what are you going to do with so much money? To change the house for my son. I answered simply. The girl hesitated for a moment, but kindly reminded me. Auntie, this is your retirement money. You have to think carefully. I appreciated her concern, but I had already made up my mind. After leaving the bank, I sat on a nearby park bench and lost myself in memories. My husband and I are both ordinary workers with a low income, but we live frugally to create better conditions for our son. I remember when Rowan went to school, other children had new school bags and new stationery, but we could only buy him the cheapest ones. But he never complained. Instead, he often comforted me. Mom, this school bag is very good, sturdy and durable. Rowan has been a sensible child since he was young, with excellent grades and never causing us any worries. The year he went to college, my wife and I scraped together enough money to pay for his tuition. In order to save money, I seldom go to the vegetable market. I mostly grow my own vegetables in the public garden in the community. After graduation, he found a good job in a company and met Aurora 3 years later. At that time, Aurora left a very good impression on us. She was gentle and considerate, and was also very good to Rowan. When we got married, my husband and I took out our life savings and helped them pay the down payment for their first house. At that time, Aurora respected us very much and often brought Rowan back to visit us. Often said, Mom, you and Dad have worked hard all your life. Let us take care of you from now on. These promises sound so beautiful and make my wife and I look forward to our later years. In the early days of our marriage, Aurora was quite filial to us and often brought Rowan back to visit us. After Xiaobao was born, I offered to help take care of him and traveled between the two homes every day. During that time, I went out early and came back late every day, and I was so tired that my back and waist ached. But when I saw Xiaobao growing up day by day, I felt that it was all worth it. But gradually I found that Aurora's attitude towards me changed. One time, I was sorting out Xiaobao's toys at their home, and Aurora suddenly said, Mom, please don't touch our things. I have my own way of sorting them out. There was obvious dissatisfaction in his tone. Another time, I made some snacks that Xiaobao liked and brought them to her. But Aurora said, Mom, don't always feed Xiaobao these unhealthy foods. Although what she said was not wrong, the tone of her voice hurt me. Since then, I have visited their house less and less frequently. On Xiaobao's second birthday, I bought a beautiful cake and went to their house to celebrate. But when I arrived, I found that they had already celebrated Aurora's birthday with her parents without even informing me. That night I cried for a long time alone at home. Thinking of this, I sighed but decided to help my son this time. 400,000 is a huge sum of money for me, but it is more important to the future of my son's family. By the time I left the park, I had made up my mind. The weekend came quickly and I got ready early, looking forward to seeing the new house my son had chosen. I deliberately put on the navy blue jacket that Rowan gave me last year and put on some light makeup. Standing in front of the mirror, I saw that my hair was full of white, and there were more wrinkles on my face. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Rowan drove to pick me up, and Aurora and Xiaobao were also in the car. As soon as Xiaobao saw me, he shouted happily, Grandma! Aurora greeted him politely, but her eyes were a little uncertain. I sat in the back seat and Xiaobao immediately climbed onto my lap, happily showing me his new toy. In the car, Rowan excitedly introduced the advantages of the new house. Mom, that community has great greenery, good property management, and even an activity center for the elderly. When I heard the word senior activity center, my heart moved. Really? Then when I come to see you guys next time, I can also go there to exercise, I said with a smile. Rowan nodded. Yeah, you can meet some new friends. Aurora didn't say anything, just looked out the window. I smiled and touched Xiaobao's head. Xiaobao has grown a lot taller. You will have your own room in the new home. Are you happy? Happy? Xiaobao nodded vigorously. I can put lots of toys in there. 20 minutes later, we arrived at the community. It is indeed as Rowan said, the community environment is very good, clean and tidy with a large green area. After entering the community, I saw many elderly people playing chess and practicing Tai Chi in the garden. Look, that's the senior activity center over there, Rowan said, pointing to a small building. I nodded, thinking that this environment was indeed suitable for living. In the elevator, Aurora seemed particularly excited. Mom, you will definitely like the house when you see it. The view is very good, and you can see the whole city. I noticed that this was the first time she had taken the initiative to speak to me today. The elevator reached the 15th floor. Rowan took out his key and opened the door. After entering the house, the spacious and bright living room caught my eye. Large floor-to-ceiling windows, a bright kitchen, and a clean bathroom. Everything is very satisfactory. Xiaobao ran around the house excitedly curious about every room. Rowan walked me through each room, detailing their renovation plans. Aurora and I will live in the master bedroom. The second bedroom will be for Xiaobao. The study can be used to store bookcases and computers, and the living room is spacious and can accommodate a large sofa and dining table. I looked at the rooms and thought this was indeed a very nice house. Xiaobao held my hand and said happily, "Grandma, this will be our home from now on." I touched his head and said, "Yes, Xiaobao has his own big room now." After the tour, we sat down on the couch in the living room to discuss the details. I asked, "How are the schools here? Will it be convenient for Xiaobao to go to school in the future?" Rowan nodded. "The educational resources here are very good. The primary school is just opposite the community, and the junior high school is also very close." Aurora added, "Most importantly, the schools in this area are of high quality, unlike where we live now." I asked again, "How far is your work? Is it convenient to commute every day?" Rowan smiled and said, "It only takes me half an hour to drive there, and Aurora's company is only a 20-minute drive away. I can see they are very happy with this house." Rowan said, "Mom, we plan to pay the deposit next month and complete the loan procedures within 3 months." I nodded. "Then when do you need me to prepare the money?" Aurora interrupted eagerly, "The sooner the better. The landlord said there are other people interested in this house." I thought about it and said, "Then I'll go to the bank to withdraw money tomorrow." Rowan looked at me gratefully. "Thank you, Mom. Without your help, we might not be able to afford such a nice house." I smiled and waved my hands. "We are all family. No need to be so polite." Before leaving, I couldn't help but take another look at this new home that would soon belong to my son and his family, secretly looking forward to visiting Xiaobao often in the future. On the way back, I asked Rowan, "When do you plan to move in after the renovation is completed?" Rowan said, "About 3 months from now. I'll invite you to the housewarming party then." I nodded happily, having already thought of what housewarming gift to give. Another morning I went to the bank. There were a lot of people in the bank and I waited in line for nearly half an hour. When I told her that I wanted to withdraw 400,000 yuan, the young girl at the counter was a little surprised. "Aunt Lee, you want to withdraw 400,000 yuan? Have you thought about it?" I nodded. "It's for my son to change his house." "Auntie, this is your pension money. Do you want to reconsider it?" she asked with concern. Her reminder made me a little hesitant, but when I thought about the needs of my son's family, I made up my mind. "It's okay. The child needs it, and as a mother I will help if I can," I answered with a smile. The girl hesitated to talk but finally helped me with the withdrawal procedure. When I got home, I sat on the sofa and the house seemed particularly empty. The photo of his wife is placed on the TV cabinet and his smile is still so kind. "Old man, did you see that? Our son is going to move to a bigger house," I said softly. "He is still smiling in the photo, as if to say, as long as our son is well, what does it matter if we suffer a little?" In the evening, Rowan sent a WeChat message saying that he had made an appointment with the landlord to sign the contract next week. "Mom, after we move into our new home, you must come visit us often," he wrote. I replied, "Okay, I'll go take a look when you finish the decoration." Putting down my phone, I looked out the window at the night scene, feeling both expectant and anxious. On Friday morning, I went for a walk in a nearby park. I met my old friend Aunt Zhang there. Aunt Zhang was my colleague before I retired and we have known each other for more than 30 years. "How have you been lately?" Aunt Zhang asked me. I smiled and said, "It's okay. My son wants to move to a new house, and I plan to use my savings to help him." Aunt Zhang's expression suddenly became serious. "How much do you want to give?" she asked. 400,000, I replied. Aunt Zhang said in surprise, 400,000? This is not a small amount. Have you thought it through? I nodded. It's all for the children. They need a bigger house. Aunt Zhang sighed. I'm not saying you shouldn't help, but you have to leave a way out for yourself. She told me that she once helped her son buy a house, but now she is sick and her daughter-in-law thinks she is troublesome and is unwilling to take care of her. You'd better make it clear to your son first. Where will you live in case you need care in the future? Aunt Zhang said seriously. I was touched by her words, but I still felt that Rowan would not be that kind of person. Rowan is a filial son, I believe him, I argued. Aunt Zhang shook her head. People's minds are hard to predict, especially young people nowadays. You should make your words clear, so you won't regret it in the future. After the walk I returned home and Aunt Zhang's words kept echoing in my mind. Maybe she had a point and I should have discussed future arrangements with my son before giving him the money. On Saturday afternoon Rowan came to my house to pick up the money. He came alone and seemed a little hurried. "Mom, is the money ready?" he asked as he entered the door. I nodded and took out the envelope containing 400,000 from the bedroom. Rowan took the envelope and stuffed it into his bag without even checking it. "Thank you, Mom. I'll come see you another day," he said and was about to leave. I stopped him and said, "Wait a minute. I want to tell you something." Rowan looked at his watch and said, "Mom, I have something else to do. Can we talk about it another day?" I insisted. "Just a few words. It won't be long." Rowan reluctantly sat down. "Okay, you say." I took a deep breath and said, "Rowan, I'm giving you 400,000 this time. I'm basically giving you all my retirement money." Rowan nodded. "I know, Mom. Thank you very much. I'd like to ask, if I get older and in poor health, can I live in your new home for a while?" I asked cautiously. Rowan's expression became a little strange. He avoided my gaze and said, "Well, of course you can, but it depends on the specific situation." "What's the specific situation?" I asked. Rowan said unnaturally, "It depends on Aurora's opinion and Xiaobeo's academic performance. You know, children need a quiet environment to go to school." My heart sank when I heard this answer, but I still forced a smile and said, "Okay, I'll go take a look when you've finished decorating." Rowan breathed a sigh of relief, said goodbye and left in a hurry. I stood there looking at the closed door, feeling a sense of loss in my heart. 400,000 was given away, but the expectations for the future received a vague answer. Aunt Zhang's words rang in my ears and I began to doubt the wisdom of my decision. But now that things have come to this, I can only believe that my son will not let me down. Over the next 2 months the Rowan family was busy applying for a loan and decorating their new home. I called several times to inquire about the progress but only received brief answers. Finally one day Rowan called and said that the new house was almost decorated and invited me to take a look. I readily agreed, feeling both excited and nervous. On Saturday morning Rowan drove to pick me up. In the car he gave a detailed introduction to the progress of the decoration and some small details. "Mom, you'll like it. We hired a designer and the style is very warm." When we arrived at the community we went straight into the elevator. The moment I opened the door I was amazed by the scene before me. The spacious living room, bright colors, exquisite furniture, everything is more beautiful than I imagined. Aurora and Xiaobao were already waiting at home. As soon as Xiaobao saw me, he rushed over and hugged my legs. "Grandma." Aurora stood aside and greeted politely. "Mom, you are here." Rowan took me to visit each room and introduced the ideas and details of the decoration. "Aurora and me, this is Xiaobeo's room, and this side is the study, where I can put books and computers." I followed them through each room, nodding in appreciation. This home is truly beautiful and has a reasonable amount of space. After the tour we returned to the living room and sat down. Aurora brought me tea and asked me, "Mom, what do you think of our decoration?" "It's very beautiful. You have good taste." I praised sincerely. Xiaobao said excitedly, "Grandma, there are many toys in my room." Looking at Xiaobeo's innocent smile, I couldn't help but ask, "The new house is so big. I will come to stay for a few days occasionally in the future. Which room should I stay in?" As soon as these words came out the atmosphere in the living room suddenly became solemn. Rowan's expression froze and Aurora's next words made my face turn even darker. I saw a flash of displeasure in Aurora's eyes. She put down her teacup and looked straight at me. "Mom, you'd better live in your own house. The space here is not big, and the children need quiet to study," Aurora said coldly. There was no room for negotiation in her tone, and the rejection in her eyes was clearly visible. Rowan sat aside, head down, fiddling with his teacup, not saying a word. I felt a chill in my heart and tried hard to keep a calm face. At this moment I finally understood a cruel fact. I spent 400,000 to buy them a new house, but there was no place for me in it. I'm just asking casually. "Of course it's more comfortable to live in your own home," I said with a forced smile. Aurora's face softened a little, but her eyes were still cold. The conversation afterwards became awkward and stiff, so I made an excuse and ended the visit early. Rowan walked me downstairs. and hesitantly said, "Mom, don't take it personally. That's just Aurora's personality." I smiled and said, "It's okay. I understand," but I had already made up my mind. When I left the community, I looked back at the tall building and tears almost came out of my eyes. When I got home, I sat in the empty living room and my tears finally burst out. I took out my handkerchief to wipe my tears and tried to calm down, pulling out a photo of my spouse. I whispered, "Old man, look at what our son has become." As night falls, I sit alone in the dark thinking back on every detail of these years. When we were little, Rowan was so sensible and made us so proud. When we got married, he vowed to be filial to us. But now, faced with the choice between money and his own small family, he chose the latter without hesitation. I don't ask him to be filial, I just hope that I will have someone to rely on when I am old. Now it seems that this hope is too extravagant. That night I couldn't sleep and kept thinking about countermeasures. I decided to take back the 400,000 yuan, which was my last guarantee. If you don't come back now, you may never get the money back once they actually move in. The next morning I called Rowan. "Rowan, Mom wants to talk to you about something important," I said calmly. Rowan seemed to have noticed something, and his tone was a little nervous. "Mom, what's the matter?" I said bluntly. "I want to get back the 400,000 yuan. There was silence on the other end of the phone for a few seconds, and then Rowan said anxiously, "Mom, why did you suddenly change your mind? We have already used that money to pay the deposit and sign the contract." I remained calm. I thought about it. That's my only retirement money. I can't just give it away like that. Rowan's voice became excited. "Mom, what do you mean? You can give it if you say so, and you can't give it if you say so. Do you know how much trouble this will bring us?" I asked back, "Do you know how I will live without this money?" Aurora's words yesterday made me see a lot of things clearly. Rowan was speechless for a moment, and finally could only say, "Mom, calm down first. We can talk about it another day." After hanging up the phone, I felt exhausted and relieved. I know that this decision may make Rowan very embarrassed and even affect our relationship, but if I don't do this, my life will be more difficult in the future. Over the next few days, Rowan kept calling me, trying to convince me to change my mind. He used various reasons. The contract had already been signed. The penalty for breach of contract was very high. Xiaobao needed a better environment for growth, etc. But my attitude was very clear. Either give me back my money, or I'll find a lawyer. A week later, Rowan and Aurora came to my house together. As soon as she entered the door, Aurora began to complain. "Mom, do you know how much trouble you will cause us by doing this? We have already paid the deposit and signed the contract. If you regret it now, you will have to pay a high penalty." Rowan also said with a bitter face, "Mom, please reconsider this. This is too important for us." I looked at them, and my heart was very calm. My decision will not change. The 400,000 is all my savings. I need it to secure my old age. Aurora said excitedly, "Didn't you say that the money was for us? How can you go back on your word?" I looked at her and said, "Yes, I do want to give it to you, but that is based on the premise that you will provide me with help when I need it. We have always been filial." Aurora defended. I sneered, "Really? Then why did you react so coldly when I asked if I could stay at your house for a few days occasionally?" Rowan and Aurora were both stunned and speechless for a moment. I continued, "I don't need you to give me much money. I just hope that I can have someone to rely on and a place to go when I'm old. But it seems that you can't even do such a simple request." Rowan lowered his head, not daring to look me in the eye. Aurora's face turned ugly, but she didn't say anything else. "Mom, you misunderstood. That's not what we meant." Rowan tried to explain. I waved my hands. "No need to explain. I understand. Now I want to get my 400,000 back. If you don't give it back, I will find a lawyer." Aurora stood up angrily. "This is unreasonable." Rowan held her back and said to me, "Mom, give us some time. We will find a way." After they left, I finally relaxed and slumped down on the couch. I know that I may have lost my son, but I have preserved my dignity and future. A month later, Rowan finally returned the 400,000 to me. He said they borrowed the money through various channels, but his tone was full of complaints. I took the money feeling both relieved and sad. I am glad that I have kept my pension money, but I am sad that the relationship between my son and I may never be repaired. But I didn't dwell on my sadness for too long. I started to reorganize my life. First, I did some simple decoration on my little house to make it more comfortable. I bought new furniture and appliances and made my home warm and comfortable. Then I participated in the community's senior activities and met a group of like-minded friends. We danced square dance together, took walks in the park together, and learned flower arrangement and calligraphy together. Life gradually becomes fulfilling. One day I met Aunt Zhang again in the park. She looked at me in surprise. "You look good. You look happy." I smiled and told her that I took back the 400,000 and decided to live for myself. Aunt Zhang patted my shoulder and said, "You are right. Old people still need to have their own savings and arrangements." I nodded. Yes, it is better to rely on yourself than on others. 3 months later, Rowan called to say they hadn't been able to buy the house because they couldn't come up with the down payment. I expressed my regret but did not offer to help. There was a hint of embarrassment and regret in Rowan's tone. "Mom, how have you been lately?" he asked cautiously. I answered truthfully, "It's good. I am with my friends every day. It's very fulfilling." Rowan paused. "Can I bring Xiaobao to see you?" I readily agreed. No matter what, Xiaobao is innocent and I still love my grandson deeply. On the weekend Rowan came with Xiaobao but Aurora didn't come. When Xiaobao saw my newly renovated home, he was very surprised. "Grandma, your home has become more beautiful." I smiled and hugged him. "Yes, Grandma also wants to have a beautiful home." Rowan looked around and seemed surprised as well. "Mom, did you do this by yourself?" he asked. I nodded. "I found a decoration company and it cost a little money, but it was worth it." Rowan hesitated for words, and finally just said, "It's very well decorated." When they left, Xiaobao was reluctant to leave. Rowan paused at the door, turned to me and said, "Mom, I'm sorry." I looked at him and said softly, "No need to apologize. Everyone has their own choices." He left with his head down, looking a little lonely from behind. Half a year has passed and my life has become more and more fulfilling. I joined the Senior Citizens University and learned painting and computer knowledge. My new friends and I organized a travel group and visited several nearby cities together. Every morning I dance square dance with the old sisters in the community and go to the park for a walk or practice Tai Chi in the afternoon. I started keeping a journal recording my feelings and thoughts each day. Rowan would occasionally bring Xiaobao to see me but Aurora never came. I could sense Rowan's guilt but I didn't care anymore. Rowan once asked me, "Mom, do you really not regret taking back that money?" I looked at the sunshine outside the window and said with a smile, "I don't regret it at all. It was the best decision I have ever made." Rowan was silent for a while, then said, "Mom, I've also figured it out. Your decision is right. We shouldn't take your help for granted without considering your feelings." I patted his hands. "Everyone makes mistakes. The important thing is to recognize your own mistakes." That night, I wrote in my diary, "The most important thing in life is not how much you give, but to learn to live for yourself." I don't regret helping my son, nor do I regret taking back the money. All of this has made me grow and understand the true meaning of life. Now I live a fulfilling and happy life every day. I no longer expect others to care and concern me but have learned to take care of myself. Those 400,000 yuan became a turning point in my life, allowing me to find the direction and meaning of life again. A year later in the spring I went on a trip to Huangshan with my friends from the Senior Citizens University. When I came back I found Rowan and Xiaobao waiting at my door. "Grandma!" Xiaobao ran over excitedly and hugged me. Rowan held a bouquet of flowers in her hand and handed it to me shyly. "Happy birthday, Mom." Then I remembered that today is my birthday. "Thank you. Please come in." I opened the door and invited them in. Rowan told me that they ended up buying a smaller house which wasn't as nice as the one they had originally chosen but was big enough for them. "Mom, I want to say thank you," Rowan said suddenly. "Thank me for what?" I asked confused. "Thank you for your decision. It made me realize that money is not the most important thing, but the relationship between family members is," Rowan said seriously. I smiled and didn't say much. Tonight, when Rowan left with Xiaobao, he said to me, "Mom, our new home is not big, but we have a guest room. You are always welcome to stay here." I nodded. "I'll go when I have time." After seeing them off I stood at the window and watched the sunset. I remembered what Aurora said that day in my son's new home. Those words made me decide instantly to take back the 400,000. Looking back now, I don't hate her. Instead, I am somewhat grateful to her. It was that sentence that made me see the reality and understood that I should be responsible for my own old age. Life is like this sometimes. What seems like a blow may actually be a turning point, and what seems like a loss may actually be a gain. Today I have friends, good health, a stable life, and a son and grandson who come to visit me occasionally. I know that my choice is right. The $400,000 not only ensured my life in my later years but more importantly it helped me regain my dignity and self. Whenever I stand at the window and watch the sunset I am grateful for the moment that allowed me to make the decision. The daughter-in-law's cold eyes and ruthless words made me sober up instantly. Not giving them a penny, this decision gave me a new life.